Cold outreach versus warm outreach. The question on everyone's lips, it has been since the longest time, from the beginning of SMMA, from the beginning of business. Why cold outreach is a bad idea? It is a bad idea in the long run. That is the key word. So let's get straight into it. What actually are they? In case you're completely new to the space and you don't understand the terms, cold outreach essentially means emails, DMs, cold calling. It's in the name. Door knocking, basically anything that's unsolicited. Whereas warm outreach is ads, content, referrals, anything where someone has raised their hand and expressed interest in what you're trying to sell. So their methods of outreach, again, if we take it one step back, outreach is essentially how you build a business. It's how you get clients. So what's the deal with this? Big myth busting exercise. Cold outreach is keeping you broke. Some would say it's not sustainable as a long-term strategy. Preach. It isn't. It was never meant to be. It's not meant to be. It doesn't compound in on itself. True, not directly. If you stop door knocking, it's not going to keep happening by itself. If you stop cold calling, if you stop messaging, emailing, whatever, it's not going to continue by itself. Why this is skewed and why it's absolute BS? Well, because it's not a waste of time. It's not bad numbers. Some would look at the fact that they send 200 emails or they knock 200 doors and they get one response and they would quit it. They would give up on it. Look around you. If there's someone out there knocking 100 doors and they're still in business, it means whatever maths is fueling that stuff actually makes sense on the back end. They're selling an offer that converts. They're selling something that makes it worthwhile knocking 99 doors and getting one yes. Point of diminishing returns, race to the bottom, saturation. Some are saying that with cold approaches, with cold outreach, you are hitting a point of diminishing returns because everyone's doing it and you can't stand out anymore. Maybe. I'm not even going to try and disprove that in this slide, but just note and consider that that is the case with warm outreach as well. So let's move on from that into the challenges of cold outreach. It's true, with cold outreach, you do get low response rates. Yeah, cold calls, emails go unanswered, making it difficult to build relationships with potential clients. It's true. You're not meant to build relationships. You're meant to gain momentum. More on that later. Negative perception, potentially. Yes, it can be seen as invasive and spammy, potentially damaging your brand's image. It can, but you're just starting out. You don't even have a brand. You shouldn't even worry about that. 3, lack of context. Yes, it's coming out of nowhere. Lacks the context of a pre-existing relationship, which can make it difficult to connect with the recipient. Yes, of course, it can. It's a numbers game. That's why you have to brute force and basically negate luck with volume. That doesn't mean that's not useful, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be trying it. Challenges of warm outreach, because there's challenges there as well. There is no such thing as a silver bullet. There is no such thing as a grass is greener or shiny object. They both come with their own problems. It's time consuming. Building relationships with leads require more time and effort than cold outreach. It's very true. You have to create content. You have to run clever ads. You differentiate, know how to stand out. You need to stay relevant, stay at the forefront of your warm leads' minds, because guess what? It's not just everyone else doing cold and then suddenly you're doing warm. Everyone is doing warm as well. A lot of people are. They're not just waiting for you to start warm. So you're going to continue to have to stay in their top of minds. Saturation. If you primarily use warm outreach, it can be difficult to expand your audience beyond your current network. If you use warm outreach, then essentially you're building a tiny audience. And as you're waiting for that audience to expand, you're not really able to go beyond that. It's almost like a guy trying to date in a circle of friends. His options are going to be so limited to the bunch of girls, guys, whatever they're into, they get introduced to. That essentially means saturation in warm, if you can believe it. Yes, there is such thing. So let's look at them at a glance. Cold outreach versus warm outreach. Cold, it gives you near instantaneous results if you do it right. While warm, true, it takes ages to gain traction. It can. Content doesn't build audiences overnight. Start posting videos and see how long it takes you to get the views that you need in order to make sales off of it. Cold, it's much cheaper. Yes, it is. Just work out your ROI on it. Calculate how much you need to pay on getting lists of contacts, whether that's emails or DMs, profiles, how much it costs to pay for the automation, the AI that you need, because you're not going to do it manually if you're smart, and you're still going to work out that it's much cheaper than the warm ones, aka ads and content, which are time consuming, takes a lot of time to build, and cost. Cold requires large volume. Warm requires dollars, requires money. Yes, with cold you brute force your luck. With warm you have to buy advertising, for example. Cold needs smart copy. Warm needs smart copy. There's no difference there. If you want to stand out, both of them are saturated in their own right. You're going to need to do your own copywriting. You're going to need to be smart about it. That is the final point. They are saturated. They both are saturated. Stop running away from saturation. Learn how to compete in it. So which one to do first? Cold to get rich, warm to get wealthy. Do cold at the beginning to learn and to earn, to get your first foot in the door. When I first started learning ads, changing my career entirely, I basically did cold outreach everywhere and anywhere. Not massive volume, actually. I did some outreach on Meetup. I went after a bunch of people, a bunch of potential customers. I actually managed to close my first 1 or 2 out of 4 or 5 messages, which is pretty wild. And that's how I got the first chance of learning Facebook ads, running service for someone and building experience. Warm to get wealthy. That's where you scale, that's where you leverage, that's where you basically go into the world one-to-many and you broadcast all the stuff that you've learned, all the stuff that you've documented your journey. Yes, that is the way to basically do them. This is the right order in my opinion, because you've got to eat, you've got to survive whilst you're building your audience and your brands with warm. That's the point of cold. They were never meant to be looked at in isolation. Each of them plays its part. What everyone tries when they go with cold is to find a unique niche. It doesn't exist. And they try to find a killer script. It doesn't exist. Both of those things are completely taken because, I mean, that is somewhere where I agree with the consensus that there is a point of diminishing returns. Everyone is smart up to a point. You can't really change that many variables when it comes to writing copy for outreach, or to find a niche that's not been already saturated. Anything that you think that you want to invent, chances are it already exists. So because of that, stop trying to find a unique niche. Stop trying to find a killer script. Do this instead. Try and differentiate through who you are. When I started first initially, because I was really into personal development and life coaching and mindset coaching and all of that, I actually looked at people who were doing exactly that. I went for coaches, but not just any coaches, the ones that I knew how to talk to, because I was so absorbed by their stuff. I consumed it and I knew that would make me stand out. Not to an absolute degree. I would still be quite busy competing with others, but I already had a higher chance. It's all about chance maximization. Try something new, something that's counterintuitive, something that's not immediately obvious. It almost feels like when I ask you to think of a color that doesn't exist. You just can't do it until you can, if you could, or until someone else comes up with it. Think about these quantum changes forward when people came up with ideas like value versus offer driven. Initially, everyone was driving with offer. I'll get you this, I'll do your leads, I'll do your booked appointments, this, that. Suddenly, they started driving with value. Look at the Loom strategy. That's a perfect example of value driven, which is, hey, I've created this Loom where I want to show you something at no cost to you. Would you like it? That is a way to basically be outside the box. Or ask for a referral. Instead of going straight to, hey, do you need this? You could go with, hey, do you need someone who needs this instead? Do you have a friend who needs it? Or do you have someone you hate who needs it? Alex Hormozy, credit to him, it's not mine. Just imagine how much more stuff is out there that you don't even know about and that you don't even know that you don't know. So if you can't come up with it yourself, then spend the time to discover it because it's there. Finally, acknowledge and realize that a huge part of this is going to be pure volume. Just brute force your luck. Volume negates luck. You will have to take volume and just do it, because that's what's going to make up for the lack of a not saturated niche and for the lack of a silver bullet script that doesn't exist. The most effective omni-system way is to be agnostic, to not listen blindly to any coach or guru out there who tells you to do one or to do the other, and to think about how they all fit. Go back to first principles, to the fundamentals. The first principles of funnel approach are that at the top of funnel, you need new eyeballs and new attention. If you can't get out with algorithms, with YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, or with the ads, because ads don't work for you because you don't know how to run ads, fair enough, just brute force it with DMs, with emails. Then once you have those, run them through a middle of funnel, which is your warm content, your YouTube videos, your reels, your email sequence in your newsletter. That's where you nurture them. That's where you build your relationship with them. And that's where you allay and address their objections. You preempt them. And then finally take them to the bottom with your demo call, with your close call. Why? Because you build relationships, you build your brand. So you do that one to many. At the same time, you do educate your prospect and you gain the trust. They're going to come in skeptical, cynical, burned before. You're going to educate them. You're going to basically get them closer to trusting you so that you can actually sell to them. Sales is all about transferring belief over a bridge of trust, conviction over a bridge of trust. And then finally, preempt the objections, which leads to smoother close calls. Actually, you'll be amazed how if you run your prospects through some content, and by the way, the funnel can be very different from case to case. You can have a series of videos that you send via email. You can have a series of thank you emails or thank you VSLs that people can watch, video sales letters that they can watch once they become a lead, once they become a booked appointment. Once they see and consume that stuff, they're going to come to your meetings much more clear about what you offer. The ones who don't need it won't even show up. And so you will basically end up closing more and better. You get full control with cold, because it's entirely predictable, because you only have two variables. You have message and you have audience. That's it. You don't have any other, variables such as the algorithm, such as the timing of the market. You just have your message, what you're saying in your copy, whether it's your email or your outreach, your DMs, and then you have the actual audience that you scraped, that you put together, whether it's email lists or contact profiles. You use the power of brand with warm. So that avoids awkward sales calls, that avoids interactions and conversations where people don't know who the hell you are or how they've come to discover you. You use a funnel approach. You understand where each piece fits. You understand that there's a time and place for cold, and there's a time and place for warm as well. Both of them work together like wonders. And this seemed counterintuitive for a long while because people think binary, that they think it's just one or the other, and because they are divided by opinions of people who sell one or the other. Bring them together, be different, and be leveraging first principles, fundamentals that don't change. Momentum and leverage. One-to-many is a long-term game. It's not a beginner's game. When you don't have experience, when you don't have money, when you don't have time, capital, any of that stuff, and experience to leverage case studies, testimonials, reviews, any of that stuff, you will have to brute force your way. You will have to do cold. You'll have to meet new people. You'll have to do that until you become a high-value business. Automate and volume. So even the cold outreach, do not think they're going to be doing manually, because that's just insane. Because like we said, you will need volume. You need to brute force a big part of it. Do bear in mind the fact that the more you automate, the more you trade off personalization. If you're smart and if you do your homework and if you actually Google and maybe dare to go past the second page of Google search results, you're gonna find some really cool tools that you can use to not have to trade off one for the other. So what I mean by that is you can use good old ChatGPT and plugins that can basically allow you to automate at scale. So you can actually achieve both automation and personalization at scale. Stand out for yourself and think for yourself. This one's such it's such a weird one because everyone says it, but no one says how you should be doing it. To think means to understand what it means to think critically, to challenge everything, to not from a place of cynicism, but just from a place of playing the devil's advocate. How could I be wrong about this? How could I be skewed about this? What interest does the person that's telling me this have? And what are they trying to sell me? What do they stand to gain from it? So take all of those things into consideration and really think about the components of what outreach really is made of. And that is your channel, where you're doing it, the audience, to whom, the format, video, static, image, text, the creative. So what is the actual video, image, the digital asset, or the copy if it's pure text. And that's it. When you combine and shuffle these 5 things together with a bit of divergent thinking, you're going to come up with innovative ways that others haven't yet. And you're going to write that until someone copies you, and then the whole thing repeats all over again. So that's it. There you have it. The conclusion and the summary between cold and warm. You will never have this question ever again, I hope. And if any questions are unanswered, well, you know what? Our emails are always working. Until next time.